Living in harmony is possible if you know your emotions and how to handle them. Dr. Carmen Roman will share with you in an engaging way the current psychology by sharing herself or interviewing experts who will inspire you. Learn how to live a life of fullness and how to recover your emotional harmony with Dr. Roman. Welcome to Emotions in Harmony.
Hello, amigos in harmony. Welcome to one more episode of this new phase of the podcast and video cast of the Emotions in Harmony, Armonía Emocional show. Today, I have a lot of information to share with you. I want to share a podcast that I really, really like. And since we are in video, I want to take advantage of that. And I will show you the homepage of that podcast. The podcast is called The Couples Therapist Couch and is with Shane Birkel. You will love that. You can go and research in his website all of these amazing topics that I don't want to spoil the news. You can go just by yourself and listen how to apologize, how to manage conflict in a relationship, what happened with couples and autism, and all of these kind of wonderful topics that he has. I will leave you a link also in the show notes for you to go and take a look. You will hear in the next 3-4 episodes some other podcasts that I love. So stay tuned and you will learn more. And also, I want to remind you about the party that we are having, the Amigos en Harmony group. We are having a party on February 10 in Palo Alto. If you are nearby or you want to stop by or whatever, it will be February 10 during the day. Send me a message and I can send you the details. The dynamic will be that I will set up the place and I will put beautiful decorations and everything. And families will come. You can come with your family and you can bring some meal to share. And this is what is so lovely about Amigos in Harmony. We can eat tacos and pozole and tamales and all of this. So just bring your best dish that you like and we will be sharing. And now we move into today's topic. Today's topic is something very important in February in the month of couples and relationships and love. Is about how to really advocate for oneself in a relationship. And this topic really comes out of a need that I see when I work with families or when I work with individuals or even couples. If we truly could learn how to do a healthy conversation and be fair to ourselves in a relationship, we will solve so much problems. And for that, I am very happy to introduce you, Dr. Colleen. Hi, Dr. Colleen. How are you?
Hi, Carmen, or Dr. Carmen, to you. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
It's really so nice to have you. Thank you for accepting. I know you are really busy and you are everywhere, Dr. Colleen.
I am a busy person. So I have a private practice called Coaching Through Chaos here in San Diego. And I have to say, I wish I was closer to Palo Alto. Your party for your show sounds wonderful. But I'm in San Diego with my private practice and I have a team of therapists that work for me. And then I've been hosting the Coaching Through Chaos podcast for almost 3 years now. And and so I interview authors and I say experts in psychology and life management to help the audience manage the chaos in their life.
Usually we do that at the end, but I am so excited that I found your podcast that I will share right now.
Oh, fantastic. And there's my website.
Let's start with that. So as you are talking, we are looking at your page.
Yes.
Yeah. The Coaching Through Chaos. You have 3 years doing the podcast, you said?
Yes. And the episodes don't come out very regularly right now. We are kind of sporadic in that, but we're relaunching as of April 1st. And we'll have regular episodes coming out monthly at that time. And in the meantime, I think you've seen some of my Tuesday videos on Facebook.
Yes.
So I do a little tip from a therapist on Tuesdays at 3:30 Pacific time. And then I also host another podcast called Shrink to Shrink, which is a movie show.
Okay.
And you'll see from the website you're showing all the different places where some of my writing or some of my work has been featured. And I'm really proud of that, that we've been featured for the work that we've done in Fortune and Huffington Post and things like that.
In Glamour, you have been in Glamour, MSN.
Right.
Wow.
And then on ESPN Radio locally here in San Diego. I'm now a contributing writer for a magazine called The Bee Quarterly, which is a magazine dedicated. It's actually quite avant-garde art magazine style, but it is focused on how we behave and about the psychology behind that. So I am now, as of December, a columnist with that magazine as well. So
it's so nice to have somebody who smashes creativity and that also willing to share. Yeah.
Well, I love what I do and I have a passion for it. And all of this, like, I know I sound like, I do 10 million things, but I love all of it. I really, and I see my clients, I have a full caseload in my practice and I love the work and I love spreading the word about it.
Yeah. And you have a Facebook Live. So
yes,
we will put also a link for your Facebook page so they can follow you.
Absolutely.
And this, for my Spanish speaking listeners, this will be, kind of the same topic. I will try to paraphrase Dr. Colleen in Spanish episodes. So if you have a Spanish speaker only in your family, you will be listening from me, what I learned from Dr. Colleen today. Yeah, the same.
And thank you for doing that, Carmen.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into business here.
Yes.
How did you come up with that topic? That topic I took it from you, from one of your Facebook Live, actually.
Yes. Well, I sometimes ask some friends or colleagues about what topics, would be relevant to talk about on my Tuesday videos. But self-advocacy is one that's just been close to me for a long time. It's how I kind of got through some real, stressful periods in life, was learning to speak up for myself and kind of taking that chance and making a leap and doing what I needed to do. And so that one was spurred on by, I heard of a situation where I just thought, gosh, that person just needs to advocate for themselves. And I thought I would do the topic that day on that. And so here we are going to talk about advocating for oneself.
It is so scary to advocate. It is.
Absolutely. But we do know that when people speak up for themselves and that they have improved mental health, that they have more positive mental health. We know that when people say no more, kind of set that boundary and say, no, I have all that I can do right now in my schedule, that they have less stress in their life. So, and people have more self-confidence and more self-esteem when they advocate for themselves.
Yeah. Well, so let's I am trying, as I'm following you, sorry, I'm trying to get out of my mind when people don't advocate for themselves. This week was a very hard week with my clients where one thing after another is women not advocating for themselves. And it was mainly women. Have you found out that it's mainly women or only men, or?
I think, I can see that feels like it's women that we're having to say, hey, we need to empower you and get you to speak up for yourselves. But I think there are a lot of men out there as well that kind of just, don't speak up because they're conflict avoidant, right? And I think there's a big misunderstanding that when we say advocate, we don't mean, and that's being assertive. We don't mean be aggressive and confrontational. And so, so I think that women get shortchanged in that department because we get told, sounds ridiculous, but we don't want to go back to the days of sit there and look pretty, right? We speaking up for ourselves doesn't mean, being aggressive. And so it means saying, this is what I feel I need, and I need you to understand that. Or this is what I want to do, and these are the steps that I've taken to do that, and I need you to recognize that. As opposed to, I'm going to go in and confront you and tell you how you need to listen to me.
And what are the challenges you think we face when we try to advocate?
Right. So we face anxiety, right? It raises our anxiety, even for myself, who's done a lot of advocating for a young age, for myself to kind of live a healthier life. We still get spikes of anxiety. Anytime we've got to do something that scares us or that's unknown, we get a bit of a spike of anxiety. But then we all have, like most of us have, a fear of failure. We have a fear of upsetting others. When we talk about this in our intimate relationships, we could get scared that our partner could abandon us. Like if you're used to man or woman in whatever dynamic of the relationship you're in, when you go to your partner and say, this has been bothering me for a while and we need to fix this, or I need you to understand why this is a problem for me, you take a chance that your partner will, say, well, that's too bad. This is how it is. And you then have to make a tough decision maybe about your life. On the positive end of that, you advocate for yourself and you say, this has been a problem for me. I'm hoping that we can talk about it. And your partner can go, oh, okay, I didn't realize. Or, yeah, that's been bothering me too. Let's talk about it. Let's fix it. So it's really important not to tuck that stuff away, especially in our intimate relationships.
Yeah. So the problems we face mainly is like taking the courage. Yeah. Taking
the courage to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there are, and people get, people just get so stifled by their own thoughts some days. They get stuck in their head, with all the what ifs and how terrible the outcome could be, that they sometimes just shut themselves down. And so we really need people to understand that there are so many benefits to taking that risk and saying what you need. And for some people, it is even personal, emotional safety or even actual physical safety when they advocate for themselves. I think in the case of kids, and my own personal story was I needed a therapist advocated for me when I was a kid to be able to leave home at 17 because it was just not safe for me. And that's how I learned. I said, I figured out that if I go and tell this adult, they're going to speak up to the other adults that I need them to, and they'll help me. But for years I didn't, but I learned at 17 how to do it. And so then later on in my career, I became an advocate for foster youth as well. So they were dear to my heart about kids that had been abused and needed someone to advocate for them. So I saw that as my role with them as their therapist. So, so it ranges from personal safety to getting the job you want, to getting a more fulfilling relationship. So
to get
what the person can do for themselves.
Yes. Yeah, because I work with all kind of situations, from the very precarious relationship that somebody lives in, a domestic violence.
Yeah.
And advocating even for the right to sleep or rest or have a meal in peace. It's just a whole issue. Yeah. To sophisticated intellectual couples who advocating for, just talking about their finances or something like that is a sensitive topic, or their sexual life, for example, or something. It becomes very sophisticated way of advocating. So, it must be something that is common ground for all of this. Yeah.
Yes. So, when people are going to advocate for themselves, I think that yes, of course it's common ground because we all kind of have our same, the things that shut us down are usually pretty similar. It's the fears that we have. So when we think about doing it, we have to think about, what is it that we're really after? What is bothering us? What's the thing that says I've shut this down, or this is uncomfortable for me? And We have to think about that. We have to think about how we need to say what we want to say.
Mm-hmm.
We have to think about what the end goal is. What is it that we want on the flip side of this conversation that we're going to have?
Okay.
And then we just need to shut down the fears and say, you know what, this doesn't serve me. And I get that I'm scared, but I need to breathe through this. I need to think about it. And I need to just say maybe to my partner, I'm hoping we can find a time to talk later today. I'd like to sit down and just have a little conversation about something.
I'm
And go
guessing
from there.
this is like kind of riding a bike. The more you practice, the better. Yeah.
Yes. And as you probably find with your clients as well, any behavior change that we make, the more that we do it, the less we have to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think, when you're used to doing something, people will say, well, how'd you just go in and say that? Or how'd you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And I can give you examples of like why I'm so passionate about this. But of that, you just learn to, you learn to just do it.
Yes.
and you learn to, I always say, like, just bite the bullet and go. And, you'll get some response, because for as much as like I can give some examples of things that I've done through my life and career where I kind of made things happen for myself by speaking up in certain situations, I've gotten positive outcomes, although not all of them were the exact outcome I was looking for. But I never had anybody absolutely shut me down and say, no, we can't talk about this, or flat out say, you're crazy for asking this, So I always say I've had positive outcomes, even though it may not have been exactly what I was looking for. But that positive outcome kind of kept me fueled to do it more in the future.
I have an example for you.
Yes.
I had, after being some years in psychology, we kind of learned to advocate for ourselves. Yeah. Part of the profession, I guess. So many years ago, I was in Mexico, visiting another city, and we were guests, my sister and I, we were the guests of this, nice house. Yeah. Nice family that they host us. And in Mexico, everything is sometimes can be so delicate, that kind of relationship. Yeah. So the husband came into his own living room. We were in the living room in that house.
Mm-hmm.
And the husband came and say, do you mind if I smoke? Yeah. But he was it was like a rhetorical question.
Yeah. It was his house. He was just going to.
It was ready, actually.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about it. All of my mouth and my brain, I would say, yeah, actually I do. Yeah. And we keep going and we kept talking and whatever. And my sister in the night later, she said, how dare you were like that? Like so rude. And I'm like, he asked a question. I say what I thought. He said, well, he needed to go to the patio and smoke there and whatever. Like, yeah.
That's right.
I couldn't figure out. Like it was so natural for me to say, yeah, I do. I mind.
And that's a good point. When somebody actually gives you an opportunity to say what you want, take the opportunity.
Yes.
I can think of people I worked with this weekend session where I said, well, they asked you, so why are you telling me you feel guilty for giving the answer that you gave? They said, here, what would you like me to do in this situation? You told them, they did it. There's no need to feel guilty.
That's it. Yeah.
Right.
When somebody say, I want to take you to a restaurant, what restaurant you like? And I answer. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Because, and that's a funny one, because couples will inevitably go, where do you want to eat? Oh, I don't care. Oh, well, then let's go here. No, I don't want to go there. Let's go here. No. And so it's, well, then say where you want to go right off the bat.
Yes.
Right.
So, Colleen, is there a way that we can overdo it? It's kind of a over advocating, self-advocating.
Can you do it too much? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Can we?
Well, I think a person could risk getting an attitude of that they always get what they want, or that they deserve to always get what they want. So they may like to then dominate certain situations, or maybe always pick where the couple is going to go out because they are more assertive than their partner. But you know, I don't think that that's really like something that we'd have to worry too much. People, I think that when the person who this is going to speak to, who needs to learn or wants to learn to advocate more for themselves, I think we'll find a happy balance, because they're going from feeling like they just can't do it to maybe testing it and then getting a little positive response. So then they do it again. I don't, can you over advocate? I don't know. What do you think, Carmen?
I think the person who is not adjusted to advocate, they may be afraid of it.
Yes. So then they're going to be hesitant to do it. But I think doing it too much, I don't think we have to worry too about.
Okay.
So,
that helps. Yeah. So it's sometimes we need to check with ourselves if it's the impression that I am overdoing it, but probably it's just a new thing. Yeah.
Yes. And I always, with clients, when I'm asking them to try out new behaviors or new communication styles, I'll say, does your partner know you're in therapy? And they usually say yes. And I'll say, well, you can tell them that they might notice you acting a little differently or saying things differently, and just let them know that you're testing out some new things. And then they can go about the house kind of speaking up in a different fashion than they normally would, and see how it goes for them. But it kind of gives them a sense of like, oh, this will be safe because they have this like permission from the therapist to, like that they're going to tell their partner, hey, my therapist put me up to this. So it's kind of like relieves them of the responsibility if things go wrong.
Yeah. Which actually is true. When we are in therapy, we do to this transformation process, and we test new behaviors. Yeah.
Yes.
Until we choose what we like.
Yes. That's right. And I think, you mentioned also the couples, though, with some domestic violence stuff. And I would want to put out there that is, if you're listening to this and you are in a relationship that involves some violence, physical or emotional, speak to your therapist, your counselor, and make sure that you're doing things that are going to help ensure your safety, because that person's going to need a lot of support and a very careful way of how they're saying things when they start to change how they're being in that relationship. You want to make sure safety is first. But
that's right.
Thankfully, most people that are listening are not going to be dealing with that. And in that case, there are a few things that everyone can do that can make advocating for themselves a little easier.
That's right. Thank you for that little parenthesis about it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you see relationships being transformed when somebody starts learning to advocate?
I love that. I think of certain clients who, women who are maybe dating and trying to find healthier relationships than they've had in the past. I can think of a particular client who went through the trials of, well, this is what I used to have in my dating relationships. Then she would go out with new people and each time speak up a little differently. And it might range from like going on a first date and realizing there wasn't really a connection, and just being open and honest about that and saying, oh, you're a very pleasant person, but I don't think that we're going to go out again. I probably am going to move on, rather than the standard, oh, I'll call you and nobody calls anybody, to kind of say, I didn't really feel a connection, but I'm sure you're a nice person. Have a great day. So starting from there to getting involved with somebody more seriously and speaking up and saying, this is what I've really needed in a relationship. And what do you need in a relationship? Rather than playing the guessing game and wondering if you're going to be what each other can need, whether you can meet each other's needs as easily as you'd like to. So I see people transform in how they do their dating and then their longer term relationships. I've seen teenagers transform with their relationship with their parents. I've seen couples that have been together a long time transform how they parent together, because maybe they've been on opposite sides of the fence in their parent styles. And so now they're able to communicate and then speak up in a way that their partner hears them, as opposed to feeling chastised or shut down for feeling differently than their partner. So I've seen lots of transformation.
Do you know actually what I also found? I actually found that when the people start advocating, the partners and the relationship also can rest, because it's a kind of a resting, knowing that I can ask you where we go to eat, and then you have an answer, a solid answer, rather than leaving me all the work for me to choose.
Yes. And that's like what that study found that I mentioned in the beginning about when you say no or when you advocate for yourself, you have less stress. And so the couple, when somebody is speaking up and actually stating what they need in the relationship, whether that's about going out to dinner or that they need more physical touch in the relationship, or more, closeness or conversations with their partner, they will have less stress in that relationship. The first hurdle is just getting over that little bump that says, oh, it's really stressful to think about having that conversation. But once they do it, they will have less stress.
Yes. It's kind of a shared responsibility. It becomes a shared responsibility of making some relationship to work.
Yes, right. Because you're then having the courage to say, this is what I need, and this is what it feels like when I don't get it. And your partner then can go, oh, okay, well then what do I need to do to, help that not happen in our relationship anymore?
What are the symptoms that you find that are a signal that I am really in huge need to start advocating for myself, or I don't know, I am low in that department?
Yes. Okay. I think a person who feels perpetually overlooked in situations, they might feel like they give all the time in a relationship, and that they feel, I always say, you feel empty-handed. That person probably needs to speak up more. Someone who feels that, someone who is depressed because they think others always get more than they do in life. I think that person probably sits on the sidelines thinking that great things happen to those other people and they just haven't gotten those great things. It's usually those people are doing things to make great things happen for themselves. So you have to step up and say, well, what do I need to do? So it's more about the perception of what you think others have or feeling overlooked, I think, is the two key things that would say, well, am I really saying what I need? And then, of course, like when we talk about in intimate relationships, if you're always feeling like you've got one foot out the door, it's probably because you're not advocating and saying what you need from your partner. Those people who kind of stay on the fence, but they say they're still in love, that they still love their partner, but they keep longing and saying, oh, but they look like they have a great relationship over there and stuff. That person needs to start saying something to their partner to say, this is what I've been feeling lately and what I would need more of in our relationship.
Yeah, those are very good signals. It applies also for the job place or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people that perpetually think that they are overlooked for raises or promotions and things like that. I wonder, is there something that they can do that would help them speak up or at least find out information? If you feel like you were due for a promotion and somebody else in your department got the promotion and you really truly feel like you deserved it, I wonder what it would be like for you to go into your boss and say, I wonder if we could schedule a 10-minute conversation where we go over my job performance, because I was really disappointed that I didn't get that promotion. I don't know if you really knew that I wanted it so badly. And I was so disappointed that I didn't get it. I'd love to go over what I can do better so that I know that I don't get overlooked in the future.
What we are talking about here is about emotional work.
Yes.
It's emotional training, it's emotional, let's say, process. Yeah.
Yes.
And that requires some investment, of course, of time, of resources, of, sometimes money. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly, because sometimes people may need some professional help to get those skills, right? I can give a couple of tips of how a person can do that, but there's definitely going to be a lot of people that are going, wow, I really need somebody to sit there and be for me as my coach or my therapist to help me learn these communication skills and to try them out on them. And so sometimes it is an investment in yourself financially even.
Yes, that's right. But the thing that I am learning here from you is that there is research, there is science about it.
Yes.
And there is hope.
Absolutely.
Everybody can learn.
Yes.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And it's wonderful. And if you want, I mean, I've got 3 tips I can give people.
Okay.
They can do that. If they're listening to this and they go, okay, well, I think I can do, but what exactly do I do to get started?
Yeah.
So the first thing I would have them do is to contact someone who has done what they want to do and say, how did you do it? Right? So if you have someone in your life that just seems to have, their relationship going on or gets the promotions that they go after and stuff, or someone professionally that you admire, call them up and see if you can, pick their brain a little bit and ask them, and say, I really admire this about you. Can I ask how you do these things? And most people are more than willing to share their own life experience. So that would be tip number 1. Number 2 is to visualize yourself successfully having that conversation. So if it's about going in and asking your boss about getting a raise, you want to envision yourself doing that. You want to close your eyes and see yourself, approach your boss about setting up the time to talk, and the boss being friendly and saying, sure, we can talk. And then visualizing yourself sitting down and saying, these are the things that I think have earned me the consideration of a raise. And then also visualizing the response. You want to visualize the person that you're talking to having a positive response to what you're saying, which will help you feel stronger in going forward. And again, this translates into our partner relationships as well, right? You want to have a conversation with your partner that's difficult. So you envision yourself saying, hey, this has really been bothering me for a while. Can we schedule a time to sit down and talk? And then seeing yourself have a pleasant, sit down, calm conversation with you and your partner smiling while you're talking, even though it's tough things that you're talking about. So visualization is the second tip. And then the third tip is to educate yourself. Find out what you need to do. What are the rules of the system that you're trying to get into? Whether that's the rules of your relationship and how your partner interacts. Like, your partner, we'll say your partner best out of anybody that they're close to. So figure out when's the best time to say, I'd like to talk. Probably not at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday when they're going off to work at 7, right?
Yeah.
You want to talk after dinner and say, hey, I'm wondering if over the weekend, maybe after breakfast, we could find 30 minutes to talk about something that's been on my mind, right? So learn the rules of the situation so that you're trying to work so that you get the best outcome that you can. Same thing about going into a corporate situation or an educational situation. I have a personal experience of going in and creating my own position at a company. And then another one was to create a teaching job for myself at a local college by figuring out who it was that I needed to go talk to. I either called them or wrote them directly. But I knew what the rules were. So I applied, but I wasn't getting the response that I wanted. So I said, well, who's the head of the department that I want to teach in? And I wrote to them. I said, this is what I have to offer the department. It worked out beautifully. They called me and said, would you come and do a guest lecture? And I did the next week, and I taught 3 classes a semester for a couple of years. So I have personal experience with understanding the systems, and I advocate for a lot of my clients to do that professionally. I always say, especially people are looking in the job market, right? They're looking for new jobs. I have some clients that have gotten their next level of education, and now they're ready for that new job, and they don't know how to go about it. And they'll say, well, I want to work at a company that has these values. Great. So you find out what are those companies, you find out what department you fit into, and you call up the person that would be in that department that you'd be working for and see if you can get 15 minutes of their time to talk about the company values, or, what they would look for in a future employee in their department, make a connection with them. So educate yourself. So contact the people who have done what you do or what you want to do, visualize it being successful, and then educate yourself about what you're about to do.
I love it. I love it because you are bringing really good news. It's like, it's doable. We can learn, we can step into, and we can design a better life for ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what most of the time when we need to advocate for ourselves, it's about because we want something different happening in our life. We want something, something new happening. So whether that means a new lease on our relationship or a new position or a new, a step into education, something we want different and we want it to improve. So it means that we have to say things differently.
Wow. Well, that's good at any age, but let me tell you that we have some listeners that they are in their 16, 17,
Right.
years, so that will be good for them too.
Oh, absolutely. And I think teenagers, or we'll call them young adults at that point, they're out. They might have their first jobs. They might have some really heavy duty responsibilities that their parents put on them about, following rules and curfews and things like that. You want to balance holding down your responsibilities with speaking up when maybe your plate's full. Because maybe your parents have kept, the chores the same for you since you were 12, but now that you're 17 and are doing your last year of high school, working towards college, and have your first job, getting everything done at home might not always work on time. So you might have to say, hey, Mom, Dad, can we sit down and talk about this? Because I feel overwhelmed and I feel like I need some change to happen. Is there any way that we can change what I'm expected to do at home, since I'm carrying my schoolwork, I'm doing well, and I've got a job, or I'm on some sports team and that's helping me get ahead? Is there any way that we can talk about changing my responsibilities or expectations at home? And on the flip side, we might have had kids who were young adults who, when they were 15, got into a lot of trouble and the parents lost trust in them. And now they're 17 and the parents are still looking at them as the 15-year-old that still can't be trusted. And they know that they are ready, that they're ready for more responsibility and more trust. So that kid may need to say, hey, Mom and Dad, let's sit down and talk, because I need you to understand who I feel I am today. And I need you to take a chance and give me some responsibilities, or give me some things that I can do that you may not think I'm ready for, but give me a chance. Let me do this. Let me try to succeed at this. If I fail, you can take it away from me, but let me have this opportunity so I can show you that you can trust me and I am a responsible young adult.
Wow, that's so beautiful. We can keep talking forever.
Yeah, this has been great.
Actually, when I thought about the topic self-advocating, it was like, oh, it probably will be like 20 minutes topic. No, it's like really very needed. Yeah.
I thought the same thing too. Like, how are we going to stretch this out? But we could keep going.
Yes, we can keep going. And you and I can keep going. I think we found each other a good connection.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. So, do you have anything else in your notes that we missed?
Let's see. Just keep in mind that doing anything new is going to be scary and you're going to be anxious. So just breathe through it, take a couple of deep breaths and just tell yourself you're doing this to improve your situation. Your intention is good. Your intention is to improve things, and doing anything differently is going to be a bit scary the first time you try it out. So just breathe through that first time that you do it.
Wow. And I will add to that. And you are doing it because the situation you are in is uncomfortable, is painful.
Yes. Right. And you are itching to make that change.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I will put you in the hot spot.
Okay.
For
Okay.
amigos, for the listeners or video followers, putting Dr. Colleen in the hot spot means asking her questions, and she will answer as quickly as she can.
Okay.
And this is the way that we end. This is the way to get more into her brain. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. What is a daily habit that you believe contributes to our emotional balance when we advocate for ourselves?
I think being true to yourself.
Okay.
So, I always tell people, try to live behind closed doors as you would as if everybody was watching, which doesn't mean you're always perfect. It doesn't mean you're always on, but it means that, you have nothing to be ashamed of in your life, So I think I gave two of them, but it's more about, being true to yourself. If you feel a certain way, then act a certain way.
Okay. Being like, I don't know how you say in English, congruent?
Congruent, yes.
Congruent. Yeah.
Yes. Let the outsides meet the insides. Yes.
Uh-huh. What is an online resource that has been valuable to you and your clients in these difficult conversations?
Oh. One on that one's tough, Carmen. I tell people usually to Google certain subjects and see what fits for them, and of course have them kind of do a little bit of checking to make sure it's a reliable source. So maybe it's something from Psychology Today or Psych Central or one of their wonderful therapist websites where we might have our own resources. But certainly the internet is a wonderful thing and it's vast. So it's hard for me to narrow that down to one.
Yeah. But thank you for saying about checking the resources, because when we go in the internet, everything is from the right place. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And you know what? At least that I know of, at least 150 podcasts and websites of master and PhD psychologists.
Yes. Certainly I can recommend searching podcasts, self-help podcast. You would look under, or psychology and podcast. And just peruse them and see everybody has a different style and everybody has a different purpose in what they're doing, because some of the therapist podcasts are for other therapists, as we know, and some like our own are for the general public. We're doing self-help shows for our general audiences. So it's for people who may or may not ever walk into our offices for therapy, but we've provided a resource they could benefit from. So definitely podcasts are a great resource.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for the difference. You're right. Well, Colleen, thank you. I really appreciate. Thank you very much for being in this podcast. And we will put in the notes your website.
Yes.
You are also in private practice, yeah?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do have a private practice also called Coaching Through Chaos. And that's on that website. They can find the practice and the podcast.
Yeah. Well, we put it at the beginning, but it will be in the notes as well.
Yes. And certainly feel free to share the Facebook page as well for your listeners who might want to tune in English, but that's what I have to offer.
That's okay, because there is plenty, like 300 million in this country and in the world. You have plenty of work in English. Okay. So bye for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
You stay a little bit with me out of the air because I'm going to close here. Thank you for the listeners. It was so nice to have Dr. Colleen and her wonderful insights about advocating for oneself. Remember, this will be in Spanish, the same topic, not with Dr. Colleen, but with her knowledge and her wisdom that I will try to replicate. and you can share with your family and your friends. Remember, share with the ones you love and share with the ones you don't love. So hopefully you can love them one day. Yeah. Okay. Bye for now.
We have ended one more episode of Emotions in Harmony. See you the next one, when Dr. Carmen Roman will help us to have a more fulfilled life caring for ourselves and the ones we care for. Meanwhile, visit www.emotionsinharmony.com to see the show notes, subscribe, and enjoy more content.